Unveiled, Bridging the Gap to Sponsorship, is a nonprofit organization. We focus on empowering underrepresented groups to break the cycle of being over-mentored and under-sponsored, enabling equitable access to opportunities for career advancement. And without further ado, I'm really happy to introduce today's topic. As with everything Unveiled, we really focus on strong, robust content and dialogue, and really having honest conversations so that we can make true progress and make the world a better place for everyone. So today's topic is AI for Equity, Shaping a Just World. And I'm really excited to introduce, as I said, two brilliant individuals, Dr. Swasti Gupta-Mukherjee, who is the host for today. Dr. Gupta-Mukherjee is an award-winning thought leader and educator focused on investments, capital markets, inclusive growth, and sustainable finance. She's a winner of the Aspen Institute's Ideas Worth Teaching Award for her pioneering course, Finance for a Sustainable World. She connects UN Sustainable Development Goals with financial markets, making her an excellent moderator for equity discussions. She champions inclusive financial systems and supports underrepresented groups, also serving as part of the Strategic Advisory Board here at Unveiled, Bridging the Gap to Sponsorship. Yulia Pavlova is an AI technology leader and visionary AI strategist, driving dependable solutions in the machine learning and AI field. Until recently, Yulia transformed the news and media industry, leading AI innovation at Reuters News Agency, where she developed several AI-based features and services, including an AI engine for video, audio, and picture analysis. These innovations significantly increase customer satisfaction and operational efficiency by 27%. In June 2024, Yulia embarked on an exciting new journey in AI research and development within the FinTech industry, joining Canada's top AI R&D organization, Borealis AI, dedicated to achieving state-of-the-art advancements in fundamental and applied machine learning. Borealis AI places a special focus on AI ethics in its solutions. So with that, I will hand it over to Swasti to kick us off on this conversation.
Thank you for that very generous introduction, Shahana, and for placing today's topic in context. It is, of course, an extremely important topic of the day, very close to my heart. I'm sure it's very close to Yulia's work and heart as well, brain and heart, I would say. This discussion is very broad-ranging, so we will try to balance between the details and the nuances, but also the bigger picture of the impact of AI. So with that, let me ask you, Yulia, since we are on Unveiled's platform, we both clearly believe in the mission of this nonprofit, and of course, with your background as an AI expert, tell us a little bit about your journey with Unveiled and how it has helped you or how it resonates with your role at the cutting edge of AI and as a researcher.
Of course. Thank you, Swasti, for your question. And Sahana, thank you for a very warm welcome. I joined Unveiled program last winter. And from the beginning, I was really impressed by the message that Unveiled is bringing to this world. Many of women in technology or in professional business, they often are over-mentored and very often under-sponsored. And I was really happy to see how Unveiled was built to help women to build that special muscle that is needed to progress further than in their career, to become successful, to get where they want to get. And what was really helpful for me is to start from self-reflection and understanding what are my assets and what are my aspirations and what are my values. And one of the important parts is to be strategic and to understand where do you want to go next. That's very important to know before you even start doing anything. And I think aligning your strengths and aligning your interests with what we want to bring into this world, where is our passions, where is our allegiance, I think that's the most important thing. And another thing I want to say is that if you work hard, you can really get very far, But if you work together with a team who supports you and champions you, you can really get there faster. So that's why I really enjoyed so far Unveiled program. I think it's been tremendous opportunity for me and for my peers on the program. And I think it also helped me to kind of understand where my aspirations are. And during this program, I made a shift to join Borealis AI. And I think it's what is really important that today's AI landscape is changing really fast. And it is really important to build AI solutions that are built on trust and that are dependable. And that is really, really crucial. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love your comment on, working hard is great, but working hard and working together is even better, right? Towards a common purpose. I know AI is basically touching all aspects of our lives. And even if it hasn't already, it will at some point in the not too distant future, right? So what are the problems that you think AI can address or has already begun to address that you are most excited about?
Of course. To begin with, I am excited about many, many things. And during my professional career, I had the privilege to work in different fields, starting from managing natural resources such as water resources, forestry, wildlife monitoring even. And then I switched to news and media industry. And while I was developing AI products there, it was really, really important to ensure that that the AI products that are built, that they're kind of non-partial, that they're really like honest information, true information, unbiased information. Let's say if we talk about transcription services, that they can capture different accents because we all come from different backgrounds. We speak in a bit different way. So it's important that we all treat it in a equal way, and that there is no any bias to any social demographic groups. And that's one of the important things because news is basically essential. It's driving so many factors in our lives. And now working in the fintech industry, it's when all these things come together. It's of course you need to strive for accuracy. At the same time, you really need to make sure that whatever you build is safe and secure. First of all, safe from the way how predictions are made, how the systems operate, and secure from the point of how private data of private individuals is handled, that it's protected, and that decisions that are driven, they are first and foremost at the best interest individuals, that they are driving clients' interest forward.
I love your example because it's actually so in sync with a lot of the the debates we are having. Your example on people having different accents, right? Accents and these differences and mannerisms, behavior, these have been causes of putting up barriers. But then if we can use technology like AI to focus more on the content, right? Where what are people saying? What is the substance of their ideas? That would be a major shift in the way we think about equity and understanding people and not focusing on style differences and focusing more on the content of what they bring to the table, right? That's really what innovation and growth and economic growth, inclusive systems is all about. Definitely love that example. It may not even be the biggest example, but it's certainly something that hits very close to home. You touched upon the fact that you transitioned from the news media, of course, which is impacted by technology and the way information is circulated, but you have moved into fintech. And Borealis is a really interesting company because it is so founded on research. So can you tell us a little bit about what do you think is AI's potential to disrupt the financial sector? And by disrupt here, I mean make major changes, hopefully positive. And Borealis is clearly positioning itself, and it's at the cutting edge of AI, both in research, but also development and implementation in the fintech space.
This is a really good question. And I think we definitely should maybe reserve another 2 hours to cover all different things where AI can disrupt financial sector. I probably would focus maybe on the top two, where I think would be the most interesting ones, at least from my perspective. I would say the first one is the capacity of AI to enable more personalized financial services. And broadly speaking, it's anything from investment in device to portfolio management. If we go into more details of that, I would say specifically things like algorithmic trading would be something very interesting, because to do that successfully, you need to be able to predict movements in asset prices and optimize your strategy in trading. And machine learning, especially advanced models like deep reinforcement learning, can optimize trade executions and improve trading performance by adjusting to market conditions in real time. And speaking of Borealis, Borealis is actually doing something like this already now. And there's a platform called Aiden. And there's also opportunities for individuals to actually learn more about capital markets and behavior. And I think the opportunity there is just really, really big. But the other thing is, what I would like to bring up and highlight is things that we already observe a lot in the financial industry, which is called fraud detection. And fraud detection is not new. It's been there for many years. It's mainly about understanding the patterns in customer behavior and noticing in real time any anomalies that can indicate that there is something fraudulent happening with a client's account or client's credit card. So these kind of things. And with why I brought this up separately is that, as we know, there is lots of developments in generative AI that can definitely impede more issues in fraudulent activities. Things like simulated voice that can replicate individuals' voice up to the intonation and how actual individuals talk. And also things related to generative AI with regard to image, text to image, and manipulation of images. I would say that's also something that potentially can impact fraud detection activity in finance.
I think the point on fraud is extremely important because there's so much research. So my background is, of course, more mainstream finance research, investment behavior. A big part of, even my dissertation was focused on behavioral finance, right? So what impacts people's behavior in financial markets? And fraud detection actually touches upon one major issue, which I think really underlies the impact of both technological innovation as well as financial systems and how people benefit from them or are harmed by them, which is trust, right? Yes. Because we know a lot of examples where just having access to technology or access to financial systems does not equal participation, right? So people may not feel comfortable with things that they might have access to. So that could apply to technology as well as various financial instruments like banking, savings account, various different things, right? Access to credit. So I think AI as a technology, as well as AI's role in the financial space, it needs to, or it can achieve the minimum threshold of trust where it brings in more people. And another thing we know about trust in financial markets and technology is oftentimes, unfortunately, there is a negative correlation with education, right? The starting point. So people who are at the more disadvantaged spectrum of education, wealth, they have the least level of trust and familiarity with these systems. So I think if we can solve that friction and that barrier, then it really could create a much more inclusive financial system and disrupt the financial sector in a more positive way by bringing along more participants, right? Because for now, I think the statistics are that only 40% of people participate in stock markets. And if we look at a wider spectrum of banking and savings behavior, there are many other inequities there as well. Building that trust through fraud detection or ensuring that people's data, people's behavior will be protected in these systems, that's really important. AI it's a topic that's everywhere these days, right? And of course, we can acknowledge that there is a good, bad, and ugly of AI. But where do you think are the main areas of improvement? So especially for technology leaders like you who are working to improve things, you're not just observers, right? You're actually getting your hands dirty with trying to develop the technology. Where do you think would be the main areas of improvement?
It's really interesting points that you have brought up regarding trust and regarding reaching the enough threshold of confidence in AI services and AI tools. And maybe I can tell a little story. So in June, for instance, I was teaching a group of school kids. Because they hear all the news, they hear what their parents are saying, and they are also concerned about AI. And what I think is good to remember is that artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms, they're not designed to harm to begin with. By design, they're there to serve a purpose, to serve a task. And it really depends on us, professional in the space or individuals who use them, is to design them to do the right things, to design them to achieve the high standards, to design them in accordance to ethical guidance. Otherwise, algorithms might suffer, first of all, from poor performance or degraded performance over time, or they can lead to wrong or poorly executed judgment. So when it comes to situations, specifically when the AI algorithm predictions can directly impact individuals or a group of individuals, it's really important that these algorithms are interpretable or at least explainable. And my personal view is that with recent AI development, it becomes harder and harder to find a way to explain it. And since the recent developments have been really rapid, it's built, on the one hand, it's built lots of concern, and on the other hand, lots of excitement. And the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And I would say that we continuously need to emphasize education, special education in AI, and the algorithms and tools, and what are their fitness, what are their constraints, and how to utilize them in the right way, first of all.
I think that's a great point to make, that sometimes we go overboard with the negatives and sometimes we go overboard with the positives, right? But I think maintaining nuance is extremely important here. I have seen this in advocacy in other spaces like sustainability, which is an area I work in a lot, where I think if we don't retain the nuance as experts, as the informed people, I think that does a disservice to the thing we are trying to promote and advocate for. And I think AI is the same thing. I think experts like you have to maintain the balance between acknowledging what the concerns are, explaining the technology, but then also explaining how you're addressing those concerns, right? Because I think that will go a long way to building the trust in the technology, the wider usage, access, participation, everything, right? And I do think another thing that's interesting here is, it seems to me like in terms of development of AI, we have gone a long way in terms of assimilating evidence that's already out there in terms of general education. So AI is able to provide a lot of information, a lot of education. Where I think we are facing more uncertainty, and I would love to hear if you have any additional insights on that, is very personalized advice, like you said, right? That is very specific to the person. It needs to anticipate a lot of the person's own behavior. For example, in finance, we need to understand people's own specific risk appetite and personal circumstances to understand what would be the right financial advice for them. There's no one size fits all. How much more development do you think is needed in this space for it to be much more widely trusted, like the more personalized advice aspect?
Trust often comes with experience, right? So imagine that you have a service that can potentially enable clients or individuals individuals who are members of financial institute with a new service that enables them more personalized experience. And first of all, even to start using that service, individual people, clients, they need to be explained, or they need to be guaranteed that their private actions or their private data is secure and safe. It will not be leaked to third-party providers. It will not be exposed potentially to undesired services. So that's the first part. So you need to, if you are an organization that wants to provide a service, you need to build trust for the most to guarantee that your customers, your clients, that their personal data will be protected. The second thing is when you build a service and you want to start offering it to your clients, there is different ways how you can enable it for piloting, for instance. First, you maybe want to pilot it for a specific group of customers who, let's say, who are willing to participate in it. And by learning from their feedback, learning from what their experiences are, you have a chance on the go, on the fly, to make adjustments, to make tweaks, to make it more friendly. Because one of the important things is for AI algorithms and to AI services is to make them more intuitive. If they're not friendly or they're very difficult to understand, okay, why is this recommendation made for me? You're less inclined to follow it, right? So we go back again to our topics of like, we need to use algorithms that are interpretable. And if it's not interpretable, it needs to still be able to, we still need to be able to explain to some extent why this recommendation has been made for you.
Right.
And there are some algorithms that are actually easier to interpret, things like linear regression, for instance, or tree-based algorithms. So it's very easy to interpret. Then if you use something more complex like neural networks, there is also ways how to make results produced by them more explainable. So once you have tested on a pilot category of customers who are maybe more willing to give it a try, and you made all possible modifications to make it, first of all, to make it more understandable by users, to make them understand why algorithm has been recommending this or that decision. It is possible to also start kind of rolling it out for wider group of audience and clients and see general response. And what is most important, that there can be different versions of this AI service, and you need to really have your system in place, first of all, for data infrastructure, that it's continuously operational in real time, that there's a proper instrument in place like disaster recovery mechanism, and that we can always roll back to the early version of the system that is the most trustworthy, for instance, or the most robust to any particular changes in the incoming data or in behavior of the users. Following up the best standards, understanding what is the key need of our clients, what is the kind of experience we want to bring to them, and working from that. I think that's the best way how you can enable a successful AI service, especially personalized service for the customers using AI.
Yeah,
What do you think?
That's absolutely spot on, because the balance that companies are trying to strike right now is, of course, we have the OpenAI and the likes, which are trained based on, the machine learning is based on data that's already out there. That's not personal data. And yet a lot of the personal financial advice has to be based specifically by definition on people's personal behavior and data, right? So the set of companies which have that data are quite different, like, our credit card companies or banks, but then that they cannot really disclose that data to general learning models, right? So I think that's an interesting problem to solve. That is, how do you develop a sophisticated AI system which can give personalized advice to people based on their patterns of behavior, which is private, but then, training the model using wide scale data, right, while maintaining privacy. So I think that's an interesting problem to solve. Are there any other challenges that you can think of that remains to be perfectly solved in making AI a tool for good in business and society more widely?
We are touching one of the most important, most crucial challenges in the leaders in the AI field. Maybe I would add a couple of more things here. So the first is utmost, I would say, is like understanding the clients and the customer needs, to really understand and design the system that we imagine the best possible outcome for them, and we start working backwards, understanding all the constraints, all the requirements, and understanding what is the experience that ultimately will transform the way how they use financial systems, or they use actually anything that has any influx of AI and behind it. I would say another challenge that leaders in AI technology field will face or are facing right now already, it's resources. And by resources, I mean both computational and energy resources. And because, for instance, sophisticated AI algorithms, like algorithms with generative AI based, they require a lot of computational power. So energy consumption is increasing. So how can businesses be sustainable while at the same time investing into heavily computational and AI systems that are high consumers of energy? And The other aspect of the resources is the human resources. Since AI is developing so fast, there's a tremendous need to continue upscale expert knowledge and cultivate expert knowledge. So this kind of culture of continuous learning and extending and learning new things and is really crucial. So for instance, I don't know if you've heard, but like last week, the AMD company that provide grace chips, they have acquired a Finnish AI startup called Silo AI. So now the chip industry combines with AI capabilities. So this is important illustrator that AI skills and AI, especially expert skills, are really important. And I don't think there will be any decreased requirements in the future. The other challenge, I would say challenging decisions, tough decisions that have to be done is when you, assuming that you understand your customer needs very well, you want to move fast. And what you have to do is decide, okay, should I build a service or should I ingest third-party solutions into my service? And both of them are equally, equal possibility. But when the first one is great because it enables you to be more certain about how the algorithm works. Since it's your own experts who build it, you know really well how it works, how it makes decisions, you understand the logic. And you can also ensure that the proprietary data of the organization or the customer behavior data doesn't leak the premise of the company. At the same time, when you decide to buy, you might be able to move faster in the market. You might be able to cater the needs of the clients much faster. So it's tough decision. When is the right? What's the right thing to build, and what's the right thing to partner with?
I think you've touched on both the philosophical challenges where AI can solve a lot of sustainability problems, because I've been increasingly reading more and more research about how AI can actually increase energy efficiency in many situations where it minimizes waste by optimizing and automating a lot of systems. But then at the same time, the energy consumption is a huge point, right? I think the data that Google came out with, they disclosed that in the last year, their emissions went up by 50% because they were running AI models and training AI models. So I think that's absolutely a concern which we cannot minimize or ignore, because we can't create new problems, right? Trying to solve one problem. So I think definitely this is a huge potential space where if AI could be made more energy efficient and there are more solutions to that, I think it has tremendous potential to solve that problem. But we first have to ensure that it's not making that problem significantly worse. Right? We have a few minutes left, and I definitely want to end on a note that puts all of these things that we have talked about in a bigger context. So just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate on AI, what would you respond to folks who think that ethics and AI development will always be in conflict?
This is the tough question. It's good. It's a good and a tough question. Can you remember when back? I'd say it was about a year ago when Geoffrey Hinton and Elon Musk and a few other prominent figures in the AI field, and especially in investment in the AI field, they signed an open letter calling or petitioning to halt all development in generative AI or in advanced AI systems. And the reason for that was to stop temporarily so that safety protocols for AI design can catch up with the pace. And I understand why they were wanted to do this, because the risks, there are obvious risks, and they wanted to ensure that risks are manageable. And when I've heard about that for the first time, I was thinking, this is interesting. And it's almost like the world of AI has developed into, so there was one people who were pro signing this open letter and temporarily halting AI development and AI R&D, and the others who were saying, no, it will not be good for this and this reason. And what I thought about it, it's a classical prisoner's dilemma type of problem, when you know that if everybody will do what's right, it will be beneficial for everybody. It will benefit in the end, it will benefit everyone. But there is a very strong unilateral incentives to deviate from that strategy and to carry on with your own R&D research in AI, because it will ultimately enable you to become a market leader once the safety protocols are in place. So even though this is very important initiative, so it's responsibility of each individual country, of each individual company, and each individual who might have good or maybe not so good intentions after all. So while I think these things have to go hand in hand. We cannot choose either that, but we have to go hand in hand. And the more we are aware, the more we call for, okay, what are the ethical standards? What are the safety standards? And the more this is brought into daylight and make people aware, I think the better it will be in the end for everybody.
Absolutely. I love your example of putting it in the context of, game theory, right? So the prisoner's dilemma, what is optimal for everybody? But as we have seen, I mean, it is absolutely a great framework to think about it, because there is clearly an incentive for a single company to want to be the leader of AI and be the first mover. But in this case, the first mover may not necessarily be developing the most robust and most ethical version of AI that will build trust, right? And the potential reputational and other damage that could happen by a wrong model getting to the market first, or a damaging model getting to the market first, could be a collectively worse outcome for everybody, because it could, set back the positive potential of AI by substantial amounts, right? And we have seen that reputational damage and trust is very hard to recover from in the business space, right? So I think that's a great point to make. It's not an easy answer. I mean, any new technology will have areas where we only get to know the ethical stickiness and problems at a later stage, once the problem is, developing, once the technology is already ahead. But I do think it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? Like, how do you know what the problems with the technology are unless it is developed and, we are using it? So I think it's an interesting question. I'm sure, if possible, I would have loved to already schedule the same fireside chat with the same topic 10 years down the road, and reflect on what we said now and what we observe in the future. Hopefully by then those fears are not going to come into fruition, that AI has gone rogue and, taken over the whole human race. I don't think that's going to happen in 10 years. Here's to hoping. I did want to leave a few minutes for any audience questions, or I know people could also email questions. So
Yes, so we do have a few questions in the pipeline. And everyone, if you have questions, then raise your hand, or you can type in as well. With YouTube rolling out policy that lets you request removal of AI-generated content that simulates your voice or face, how do you envision implications of that more broadly, good or bad?
Well, first of all, I would say that if there is an AI content that has been generated based of your voice and your face, or any proprietary data, personally identifiable data, without your consent, or absolutely, it cannot. I strongly support that this should not happen. In general, with AI generated content in social media platforms, it's a very, very tough topic. I already gave Swasti an example that was teaching students in June. And because they spend so much time online, spend time on YouTube, on I don't know, on Instagram, anywhere. And first of all, they see so much information that is not real. They see so much of content, facial content, video content that is not real. And they create, first of all, unrealistic images of the world as the first thing. And it also can create some kind of distorted image of what's happening in reality. So I think it's definitely important to either flag that this content has been AI generated. I say it's like it's very easy, but it's not. It's not very easy. There's always a degree to which it was auto-generated. It was manipulated. So there is a degree which I think YouTube will have to decide where do they draw the line, where's the cutoff when it's not acceptable anymore. And there are those watermarking, there are those digital hashing that will signal, okay, this content, this image is authentic, or this one has been generated. I hope this answers this question, Swasti. What do you think?
And I think to me, it's not even an option. I think this kind of use of AI has to be regulated in some shape or form. It cannot be allowed unlimited because that really blurs the distinction between fact, fiction, truth.
Absolutely.
So I think this is absolutely a starting point, right, of building trust in technology, trust in the usage of technology in many different applications, and especially very sensitive applications to people, right? People might be at some stage and already are trusting health data, medical information, financial information to this technology. So I think the trust building absolutely has to deal with it. And this, I'm only semi-joking when I say that it may not be the non-famous people who drive this regulation. It might be the likes of Taylor Swift who are speaking up about usage, unauthorized usage of their voice, of their image. And I think this is one area where certainly the louder voices, celebrity voices may actually be needed to draw attention to this problem and ensure that it is handled in a responsible way.
And Swasti, following what you just said right now, is that it's really the proliferation of the deep fakes, especially in the news content, has become so big, and I'm afraid to say, but it might continue being this way. And it's really important what kind of shape of the context, of the news context, is created. And especially lots of people do actually follow social platforms to receive the news.
Right.
And it's very important to ensure that we don't, like, social media platforms not contribute to any misinformation that is already quite common and spread. So definitely protecting authenticity of the news content or of the facts, even the facts, is super important.
Yeah, and I think here it's important to also reiterate that this is another problem that AI may have created, but then we also need AI to solve this problem.
It's also the
right?
solution.
The good AI has to solve this bad AI
Absolutely.
problem. So, I think that's a great question.
Okay.
And, it's certainly a problem we have not solved, but it needs to be solved to build trust in the system.
Thank you. And I know we are at time, but if you have a few more minutes, we do have a couple of more questions as well. And to your point, Swasti, I think Scarlett Johansson also kind of made the move by making OpenAI take down her voice. The next question that we have is, in your opinion, which particular barriers to equitable financial systems does AI have the most potential to address?
I mean, that's certainly a topic I'm fascinated by. So I can take a first crack at it and would love to hear Yulia's take as well. I think financial systems are going to be one of the aspects of society and civic society and business that's heavily impacted by AI. I don't think there's any part of financial systems that will remain untouched. The question is, where the potential for good is, right? I think the potential for good is everywhere, but we have talked quite a fair bit about it. And the point is well noted that there are concerns. We haven't solved all the concerns yet. While I think AI has the potential to improve the efficiencies, participation, inclusiveness in many aspects of financial systems, one thing that really is close to home for me, because it's a topic I care about a lot, is the issue of financial literacy. Because a lot of people don't really participate in a rational way or don't do what's best for them in terms of financial planning, things like saving, debt, budgeting, things like that, is because they feel uncertain about the education or they don't have the education. And this is somewhat puzzling, but actually financial literacy is not really increasing over time. Even though people's access to the internet, to sources of information has increased, but practically every research survey that has been done to test financial literacy, it hasn't really shown any significant improvement, and some of them in fact show a decline. So we are not in a great space in terms of financial literacy in a wider inclusive aspects of society. So I think AI has a huge potential, which is it's already showing, to simplify complex issues. And finance and personal finance decisions are complex to a lot of people who are not professionally trained, or even frankly, it's not easy for a lot of professionally trained people either. I think AI has the potential to educate people. Now, of course, the trust part will come in to translate that education to actions, participation, comfort level. Yulia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you've covered the most. I will add just maybe a couple of things. First, to reduce the barriers and to make financial systems more equitable, I will first highlight that it's to make AI enablement, the systems have to be digitalized, and the accessibility of digital way of accessing their accounts, their financial services is the most important thing. So people need to first of all be educated how to use them, and the system have to be built in, especially the user interface and user experience design should be done in a way that it's very intuitive, very friendly, and that will encourage people to use them, to ensure that, okay, this is safe to use, it's a good idea to use. That's the first thing. The second thing I would like to add is that when building AI systems that are designed to provide some services for individual users, it's really important to keep in mind that just focus on what matters the most, and omit, because there's lots of data that we can see from people. We can see their age, their gender, their ethnicity, maybe the way how they speak, the way how they, maybe their accent. So leave all the things that might impede this, different perception about different social demographic groups. Just keep what matters. What matters is the most important thing. All other parameters that might be destructive for AI models, leave them aside. Just focus on things that are the most important, like just to avoid using things that are potentially highlighting difference between different social demographic groups, and that will be like very, very good step to break the barriers further.
That was a fantastic conversation, and thank you for addressing the questions. I am conscious of time. So thank you, Swasti and Yulia, for taking the time and sharing both your perspectives and really helping us learn a little bit more. I hope our audience also got that. We look forward to building on the conversation in different ways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Show us some love. Like, subscribe, share, and tell us what questions do you want answered in a future episode.